As Steve Jobs once said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So when I got into Web3, crypto, blockchain a few years ago, little did I know that this emerging technology is going to impact the travel industry. And here we are shooting an entire podcast on it. With me is Nikhil Kulkarni, who's done some interesting things in this space. Nikhil, welcome to the Plush Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Rahul.
I've got my WAG Me t-shirts
That's awesome.
on for you. So WAG Me, for those who don't know, is we're all going to make it. That's a common acronym in the crypto space. And great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Nikhil, let's start with what have you been doing in the tech space? And you're building something really exciting in crypto. And how the hell did you think that you're going to do something with crypto and blockchain in the travel sector?
So what you just said, right? You can only connect the dots thinking backwards. I think that really stands true because I started my career with KPMG doing technology consulting. Did that for a little more than a decade. I was always interested in the whole internet stuff, and I had my own stints of trying to incubate some Web 2.0 ideas way back then when that was a term.
We'll get into Web 2.0 and Web 1.0 soon.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when I started out, when I said, okay, I want to do now things full time, right? I started out, I went into travel tech.
Yeah.
That was in 2016. So I did my first startup in travel tech, which was around what today we can openly call saying AI that can help you build a holiday itinerary for you, right?
Right.
That was what we were building at that point of time. And then, of course, we were more B2B focused that time, kept on working on it. But over a period of time then, as that project sort of tapered off, I would say, and I had always been interested in crypto since that time as well. I'd been following this industry. I had a lot of friends who were in the crypto space, and I would say, at least an investor of sorts in this space, at least investing in cryptocurrencies and stuff. So I knew enough about this sector, and I knew a lot about travel. And then it so happened that my co-founder Arul, who was also coming out of a role of a crypto startup, which was mainly into trade finance, he was coming out of it, and we both sat together and we said, okay, I mean, there's so much happening in crypto, and travel is an exciting field. What can we do together? And it was at that point around, I had enough experience of what are the inefficiencies, what are the problems in the travel industry, and obviously those translated into the opportunities that both of us sort of.
Was that through your stint at KPMG?
Not really. When I came out of KPMG, I did this first startup of mine. Now, how I got into that startup, how I got into travel is that my first startup was with an ex-colleague of KPMG, but he had spent about a decade in the travel space by then. So he had some ideas in the travel space, and I joined him because I had the technology side of things. And almost here as well, that's sort of the role that I still play. I'm the technology side of things, and Arul is more on the business side of things. We got together, and then I would say it was, I wouldn't call it complete serendipity because there's definitely a lot of background that goes into it. But yes, I mean, connecting the dots backwards, I also find it unbelievable right now that we are doing a podcast on travel and crypto. And yeah, I mean, I'm able to speak for the industry.
Funny story. I keep joking that I took the scenic route to crypto because I was doing a travel show, right, called Plush Places, which took me around the world. And a few years ago, I think it was in 2016 or something, where I met some of these guys on one of my trips. It was in Scandinavia, it was in Sweden, who were really into crypto and blockchain. And more than that, they were into Bitcoin because Ethereum was very, very new. Most people didn't know about it. Most people don't even know about it now. But so I was like, okay, let's explore what this Bitcoin thing is, and you park that idea at the back of your head because there's so much going on in your life. But somewhere, I just kept going back to what this technology was about. And when COVID hit, I really got into this space and really went down that rabbit hole. And these guys who had met, years ago, they ended up hand-holding me through the process and helped me go down that rabbit hole and helped me set up like a MetaMask account. And we'll get into that as well. Yeah. And really understand how to go about studying this space and help me with certain resources as well on how I could get better and learn more, because we had all the time in the world during COVID. And that incidentally coincided with the bull run that happened in the crypto space. And now I don't quite know if you're in a bull run or a bear market or maybe just going sideways, but it's been a journey.
No, so just very interesting that you pointed out, because that tells you something about the Web3 industry. I wouldn't so much call it crypto, because crypto is a very technical term for something that happens.
So let's get into what Web3 is. What is Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, right?
Right. So at a very basic level, Web 1 was where people were building websites that would talk to you, where you would go and consume content. The mid 90s, even the early 2000s, where you would go to a website and the website would give you some information, you would do something with it. Web 2.0 is largely what most of the world today is living in, the Facebooks, Twitters, Instagrams of the world, where it's an interactive web, where there is a lot of user generated content going into the web and then it is getting fed back. So this podcast, for example, is a part of Web 2.0.
And that started somewhere probably in the early 2000s.
Exactly. Early 2000s, I would say mid 2000s, 2008, 2009 was when it started hitting its peak. And then what people started realizing, and a lot of people now realize, is that they are putting so much content on these platforms, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, but you don't own that content because it's sitting on somebody else's server. You don't have ownership of it. And that's where Web3 starts. Web3 says you don't just put your content, but you also own your content. And that's probably the segue into what cryptocurrencies are, where when you hold a cryptocurrency, you really hold it. It's not that it's just a line in the database of some bank. It is actually held in your wallet.
Provided you self-custody your crypto and not leave it on an exchange.
Yeah, we'll leave the technicalities of it aside. The point is that that's the cultural aspect of crypto. That's the cultural aspect of Web3, that anything that you do in Web3, you have complete ownership on it. That's the basic principle based on which all the Web3 businesses are getting built today.
So Web 1 is perhaps mid 90s, where we had that slow modem, which the 56 kb modem,
kbps, yeah.
As they say that phone shuru hota hai to internet band ho jata hai, internet shuru hota hai to phone band ho jata hai.
And you would have that typical sound in your mind where the modem would connect to the internet. I mean, those...
Correct. That's Web 1, where it would take a long time to download a page. It was probably text only. There was no video, low bandwidth. Web 2 started perhaps sometime in the early 2000s. And with Facebook and Google and Twitter and then later Instagram, user-generated content, which is what we're a part of today. Web 3 is the next era of the internet, where you not just put out content, but you also own your content, is what you're saying. So nobody can deplatform you from, let's say, an Instagram or a Twitter. They can't deplatform you of those social networks.
And that's why it's so attractive to the financial guys, because nobody can then take away the value of your money as well. And that's why cryptocurrencies are suddenly, I mean, for most of the world, cryptocurrencies are what Web3 is all about. But then that's why I wanted to paint that difference, that Web3 is a philosophical movement that we need to understand. And its impact will be applied in every industry. Financial services happens to be today the front runner and probably the most dominant, but there'll be impact in every other industry as well.
Right. So, you talk to the average person and you ask them about blockchain technology, they're clueless and they're a little intimidated, to be honest with you, because it is very technical. Yeah. But their knowledge of cryptocurrency or the crypto industry is just probably Bitcoin and buying and selling of these tokens, which are more often than not, or at least they have been associated with scams, right? Or Ponzi schemes. So a lot of scammy projects. And that's why a lot of people don't trust. It's just basically it's gambling for a lot of them, right? They don't understand this space. But what they're not getting is the underlying technology behind cryptocurrency, which is impacting pretty much every business or will impact every business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Exactly.
And of course, travel as well.
I mean, it's similar to how at one point of time, even the web was a scam. There was when the dot-com bust happened, so many people lost so much money. Everybody thought, hey, pets.com going crashing down is an indication that this whole industry is just a bubble.
Right.
But that's not the case today. I mean, today almost every aspect of our life, we can't survive without the internet today. We can't survive without the Web 2.0 tools that are at our disposal today.
Chris Dixon from A16Z has written a fantastic book on this called Read, Write, Own. It's right behind me. And I've started reading this book, and a lot of this makes sense to me because obviously I've been studying this space for a while. But essentially, he talks about the same thing, the Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 version, and he goes into a fair bit of detail in terms of whatever you just mentioned as well.
One more thing I want to point out, which probably is not that evident. Web3 is the cool part of the web today, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably why you discovered Web3 as a part of travel. Most of the people in Web3 travel a lot.
Yes.
There are so many events across the globe. That's the Web3 culture. The Web3 culture is about person to person connect. It's very genuine. So I was just talking to my team the other day, right? When we try to interact online with Web2 brands, it could be a hotel booking portal or it could be a travel magazine like Skift. You would probably be talking to a Twitter handle that's the brand handle. But in Web3, it never happens that way. In Web3, you're usually talking to a person on the other side. It's probably the CEO of the company or it could be an intern of the company. It doesn't matter, but you're always talking to a real person.
Right.
And that's the Web3 culture that we talk about. That's the cultural aspect of Web3 that people need to understand. And once you get
It's a
into
lot
it,
more
it's very easy.
collaborative.
Lot more collaborative, lot more genuine. Because it's a person-to-person conversation that you're always engaged in.
Unless you get scammed on Telegram.
Absolutely. So you need to watch out for people who are not genuine.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a much more natural conversation that would happen on the Web3 side.
So, coming back to the travel industry, and I'm just curious because today I can book a cab on my phone in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I can book a hotel on, let's say, a booking.com, for example, in like a couple of minutes. And everything, all the problems that I want solved, are already solved. Like I can book an air ticket online, I can book a hotel, I can book a cab. So for me, for the average layperson rather, this is it. I mean, travel is already
Yeah, you're already in the state of nirvana when it comes
travel
to
is fairly friction free for the most part. So what problems or what challenges is blockchain technology trying to solve for?
So let's first talk about some of the problems that don't get solved, right?
Yeah.
You might be able to book a hotel if you are planning 3 months in advance. But many times, if you wanted to plan last minute, you would have a hard time getting a hotel, especially if it was an occasion. So think about you are going to Singapore for the Grand Prix, right? Now, you just got hold of the Grand Prix ticket 3 days ago. The Grand Prix is day after tomorrow. Now you want to book a flight. You also want to book a hotel. You might have booked the flight, a refundable ticket probably, but finding a hotel when the Grand Prix is going to happen in Singapore is going to be extremely hard. Singapore is a land and sea locked country. There is no real estate. All hotels are booked. You're not going to get it. Now, what options do you have today? Today, the options are you go to a travel agent and you try to negotiate with them. They try to get you a hotel booking, which is super expensive, but you don't have an option because you paid for the ticket. That's one genuine problem that people will relate to.
Or just book online.
But online things may not be available because it's last moment. The Grand Prix are happening, so all hotels are booked, right? That's one big problem. Last moment availability is a big problem.
Aren't there websites that specifically cater to your last minute bookings as well?
Absolutely. But people get scammed a lot on those websites as well, right? So that's, and what I'm talking about is the symptom side of things, right? This is a symptom that we see. Another symptom that people would relate to is those horror stories probably happen to a lot of people where you walked up to the hotel front desk, you booked 3 months in advance, but when you go there and when you talk to that guy, he says, sorry, I don't have your booking. And then he is talking to his booking manager and you're talking to your travel agent or to the website where you booked from, and you're wasting 3-4 hours trying to figure out what happened to my booking.
Is this a common phenomenon?
It's more common than you would imagine. It happens at least 1 in 10 cases often, right? Again, conditional to it being a last moment and all those things. So these are the symptoms that people would see. They don't happen always to everyone, but they do happen once in a while for everyone, and they do happen all the time for someone, right? Now, what is the reason why some of these things happen? One of the reasons is that what I said, when you book a ticket, you don't really own the ticket completely because that ticket is sitting somewhere else in somebody else's machine, somebody else's server. And if that person hasn't communicated it down the supply chain, you may not know whether the booking is genuine or not, or whether it may be genuine, but it hasn't reached the person, like the hotel front desk, for example, where it needs to go. Now, why this happens is because a lot of people don't understand. What we think is that when we book a hotel with the when we book a hotel on the OTA website, the booking immediately
OTA
lands onto
is
the
overseas online travel
online travel
agent.
agent, like a booking.com or Agoda or something, right? So when you book it there, it immediately goes to the hotel system and the booking happens there. It doesn't happen this way. Firstly, let's talk some statistics, right? The online travel agent themselves only command anywhere between 15 and 30% of booking. Remaining 60% of the booking, 70% of the bookings are done outside on the trade channel. Now, what does this trade channel consist of? It consists of players called DMCs, bed banks, travel agents. Travel agents, people would understand. DMCs are people from whom you buy those tour packages. So they buy the hotel rooms in bulk, they package them along with other services like airport pickup, drop, and sightseeing and all that, and then sell it to you as a package. And then you have bed banks.
But sell it to whom? Sell it to another travel
Sell
agent?
it to another travel agent who then sells it to the end consumer, right? Then you have bed banks. Bed banks also take these hotel bookings in bulk, but they again sell them. They operate closed portals only meant for travel agents to book. And then the travel agent obviously sells to you, right? So what's happening essentially is that a major chunk of the inventory is getting sold through a lot of intermediaries in between.
So let's unpack this for a minute so people understand. You have a 100-room hotel, right? Let's say there's a property, any property, 100 rooms. You're saying 15 to 30% is done online through an OTA.
Direct booking through an OTA.
Direct booking through an OTA.
OTA. So the OTA has contracted with the hotel. So when you book with the OTA then informs the hotel and obviously the booking goes to the hotel.
So a booking.com, for example, or an Agoda or Make My Trip, they would probably have 15 to 30% of any hotel's inventory, right? So 100-room hotel, 15 to 30 odd rooms are probably sold through that OTA.
Through that channel, yes.
And then the rest, 60 to 70 odd percent or 60% is sold through bed banks and these DMCs. DMCs are people who are, let's say, they're travel companies, destination management companies. And so they'll package that hotel with sightseeing, pick-up, drop-off, transfers, and they will package that and they'll sell this package to a travel agent in a, let's say, foreign country, who will then sell that along with their markup to the end consumer. So a DMC in India will probably sell this to, let's say, someone in the UK, right? A travel agent in the UK. And let's say, Joan Smith in London wants to come to India. She approaches her travel agent. So this travel agent is going to sell her that package, which has been created by the DMC, and probably add their 10-15% margin or whatever the margins are at that business, right?
So one part of the problem is that there are a lot of intermediaries, and I'm not saying that's bad. In many times it's good. The DMC is playing an important role.
So who are bed banks?
Bed banks are people who buy these hotel rooms.
Specifically hotel rooms.
Hotel rooms from the hotel, and now they sell it to the travel agent. Now they may be selling it to a travel agent through their own online portal, just like a booking.com, but the access is restricted only to travel agents.
Okay.
You and me cannot go and buy directly on a bed bank.
Okay.
Right? Because these are industry rates.
Okay.
And they also exist because a lot of times corporates, when they are looking for booking rooms, they might go to a travel agent and say, I want a chunk of rooms. I don't just want one or two. I want 20 rooms because I'm organizing a conference there, right? Okay. So that also typically goes through a bed bank channel, right?
So a corporate would approach a bed bank, or would they approach a
They would approach a travel agent. The travel agent would work with the bed bank and get the booking done.
What about the business that's done by a corporate? Let's say I'm Pricewaterhouse or KPMG, where you worked, right? They have a strong presence in India as well and globally. And they have their consultants flying in and out of different cities all the time, right? So they would probably want, let's say, 1,000 rooms booked in XYZ hotel in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, wherever typically they have their businesses and their projects and their office and their presence. And these employees of these consulting companies, they're the ones who are traveling and staying at that specific hotel. And is that business done directly with the hotel, or is that done through a
There's no
travel
one
agent?
size fits all. There could be larger corporations. For example, IBM would probably more likely do it directly with the hotel because they have a much higher volume. But then those companies which will have a smaller volume will probably go via a travel agent, or they might try to go directly to the chain, but the chain would redirect them to an intermediary to whom they are selling. So there are I mean, horses for courses, right? I mean, you could have various models. So that's one piece of the problem, that there is a long supply chain.
Yeah.
And then what that creates another problem, that when you do the booking, your booking has actually not landed to the last mile, right? So how do you solve that problem? Because this is a global industry. There's no global regulators. So you can't say, like, for example, let's say you and me, if we are doing a UPI transaction, when money gets debited from my bank account, it goes to my bank. Through my bank, it goes to RBI or NPCI, and from there it comes to your bank account, right? All this is instantaneous. Why? Because there is an RBI or an NPCI sitting there.
Yeah.
In the travel world, you cannot have this because this is a global industry. The hotel may be sitting in Seychelles, the traveler may be sitting in Singapore, but maybe interacting with an Indian travel agent. You don't know. So here you need a common supply chain to talk about, and that's where the blockchain comes in, right? The blockchain is a trustless layer where people can transact without necessarily trusting each other, because what is there on the blockchain
That's what
is
trustless
trustworthy.
means.
That's what trustless means, right? And that's exactly how a UPI works. When I go and buy something from a shopkeeper, I don't necessarily have a relationship with the shopkeeper always, but I trust that, and he trusts me that when I swipe that QR code and I make a payment to him, he's going to get paid, right? So it's a trustless system. Here in the UPI world, the trustless system is created by an NPCI sitting there, but in the blockchain world, the blockchain itself works as a trustless layer. So first problem, that information doesn't reach the right person, gets solved by the blockchain because it is a trustless layer. So now if you said that all the bookings will be done via the blockchain, via a blockchain based system, which is what we are building, this problem of information asymmetry goes away. That's one big problem that we are trying to solve.
The blockchain just becomes a database here.
Almost, yeah. It becomes a database that all of us trust. So it's not the hotel's database where you're booking. It's not the travel agent's database that you're booking. It's a common database trusted by all the parties in that supply chain. So that's one big advantage, right? Now the second part to this is, oftentimes, what happens when you want to cancel a room? There are those cancellation policies involved and so much. And global statistics say that across all these channels that I mentioned, anywhere between 30 and 45% cancellations will happen. Out of those 30 and 45% cancellations, almost 80% of those cancelled rooms would actually end up getting resold to somebody else, right? So there's a massive amount of reselling that is happening in this channel. And unless that you were directly interacting with the hotel, the reselling, so firstly, I as a booker did not get any benefit of the reselling because I cancelled. I probably in fact paid a penalty for cancelling. I probably paid a penalty of 20% of that booking amount, right? And the hotel also did not get anything. That reselling happened somewhere in the network and nobody was richer apart from probably the entity that actually did the reselling.
Right. But don't you have, sorry to cut you off, but don't you also have platforms like booking.com which allow you to cancel up to 24 or 48 hours prior to your trip?
Yeah, they do. But as I said, that's a very small sliver of the entire industry, right? That's 15 to 30% depending on the.
So if I'm going for the Grand Prix in Singapore, chances are that option may or may not be available because there's so much demand.
Yes. And since it's a Grand Prix in Singapore, it's possible that most of the larger chains where you could book directly, the Marriotts of the world, would be booked by the corporates already for their employees who are flying down for the Grand Prix, right?
Okay.
So you don't have the option of booking directly with the hotel. You don't have option of booking it on an OTA platform, right? On the travel portal. So now you're left with this middle layer, and which has a massive, first is it's a cancellation charge. The second problem is that the reselling is not under your control. Now this is where I go back and connect the dot to the ethos of the Web3 world. In the Web3 world, if you own something, you own it completely. So if we were to do this booking on the blockchain, the way I would treat this is that I, as the person who booked that room, I own that room night for that particular time. For that particular night, I own that room, which means I should be able to resell it to you rather than being I cancelling it and somebody else reselling it to you, because somebody else reselling it to you also involves a time delay. There is a high chance that by the time I cancel, your need has already been fulfilled. You probably have missed your flight by that time because you didn't have a hotel, right? There are so many other associated problems that can occur if reselling is not direct, right?
Isn't one of the identifiers when I'm booking my hotel room my name, right? So it's booked on Rahul Jagtiani's name.
Yeah.
How can I sell a booking which is on Rahul Jagtiani's name to Nikhil Kulkarni directly without, or bypassing these guys?
No, you're not bypassing. So again, let me make it clear. So in what we are building in our system, you own the hotel room, you can resell it to somebody else, and you're not bypassing anyone. Whoever you bought it from, that person knows that you resold. The hotel on the other side also knows that you resold, because that's how the name will get communicated to the hotel. And everybody in the chain also gets benefited from the reselling. So the model that we are building, the reselling model that we are building
At your company.
at Book Protocol, is that whoever owns the hotel room can resell, and a small commission from that resell will be given back to the hotel. It will also be given to the first party who bought it from the hotel. So it could have been a DMC or a travel agent or an OTA for that matter, who contracted with the hotel to enable that first sale to happen. Whoever enabled the first sale will also get a commission back.
Like a royalty.
Like a royalty back, right? And hotel obviously is a part of that same chain. So what we are saying is that number one, we are bringing the Web3 ethos, which is that if you did the booking, you are the owner of that booking and you can resell it. We are making, and because it's all happening on the blockchain, it's a common transparent database. Everybody in the chain knows that there was reselling happening. It's not that we are keeping them in the dark and we are benefiting from that resell trade by earning money out of them. No, they are an equal party to that whole transaction. They are getting commissions, and you and me are also getting benefited. So, and that common database, the blockchain helps this. So a lot of times, sorry, I probably am guessing a question that you would ask me. A lot of times we get asked, why can't this be done without the blockchain? Because imagine you did your booking on booking.com and I am trying to look for a hotel room on Make My Trip. There's no way you and me can connect, right? Now, what we are saying is, let's put the whole thing on the blockchain. Let Make My Trip also connect to the blockchain to pull in inventory. Let booking.com put its resold inventory onto the blockchain. Let everybody rely on the blockchain. Let's all, so you have like a common pool of inventory. Anybody may be reselling from anywhere. I don't know what website people are using in Thailand, or they're probably using Traveloka, right? So, and probably you know about Traveloka, or you may not know about Traveloka, but it shouldn't matter. Somebody in Thailand, Traveloka. Somebody in Thailand will book the ticket on Traveloka. They will resell the ticket via Traveloka. I, sitting here in India, might be looking for that same ticket on Make My Trip, and I will have access to that same inventory. And that's exactly where the blockchain comes in.
And I've got like 5 or 6 points that I want to discuss on where travel can be impacted through blockchain technology. But since you've already started off on booking, we'll start with that point. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. What stops me, an individual, from buying 30 hotel rooms on a blockchain platform or a blockchain-enabled platform for cheap and sell it at a much higher premium closer to the date?
So 2 answers to that question. Yeah. One is nothing stops you, right? But then what makes you think it's not already happening, right? So probably there are people out there in the industry who are already doing that. So if people are already doing that, why do you think prices don't escalate to astronomical proportions? The answer is that there is already a built-in safety valve against it. And that's the industry themselves. The hotel does not want their property to escalate to a proportion so that people won't be able to book at all, right? So hotels don't put all their inventory on any of these channels on day zero, right? So even the 15% that goes onto an agoda.com, so let's say it's a 100-room hotel. It's not that on day zero, they're going to put 15 rooms for sale. They're going to put 2 rooms, 3 rooms, 3 months in advance. Then maybe 5 more rooms a couple of weeks later. Then the remaining one.
So they control this.
So they trickle feed. And that's primarily because we don't want such things to happen in the world, right? So that's one part of the answer, that it will not happen because there are already guardrails built against it. That's one part of it. But the second part of it, it's like, think about, a lot of times people say that, why have we banned gambling? Why don't we legalize it? So when you legalize something, it becomes much more fair. The distribution becomes fairer. Better people get access to it, and market forces then bring a lot more control over what's happening. So what we are saying is that reselling is happening even today. Even today, as I said, about 40% of bookings get cancelled, and out of that, almost 80% gets resold. So reselling is happening even today. What we are saying is that if it is happening today, only a few people, a few bed banks, a few travel agents have access to that reselling as a mechanism. And it's not an open market. It's a closed market. You and me don't even know what's happening in the market. We don't know what prices they bought it for and what price they are selling it for. And sometimes even the hotel is blindsided. Even they don't know that the hotel room was bought from them at 20% of the price that it ultimately got sold off in the retail market, right? What we are saying is that let's make whatever is happening in this industry completely transparent and open. Let everybody participate. When everybody participates, you will automatically have market forces coming in which will regulate the price. And that's just one answer that I'm giving you. The other answer is you can go and book one hotel in a particular precinct at the time of Grand Prix. What about the other hotels? Who has the money to go and book all the hotels in Singapore or in that precinct where Grand Prix is happening? Nobody has that kind of money, and anybody who will have that kind of money will be someone who is a consortium of the industry, who will not want this kind of a malpractice to happen. So that's why what ultimately happens is that market forces automatically regulate the prices, and this kind of an inflation does not happen. It doesn't happen today. It won't happen even if you make it an open industry. What it will rather result into is what's happened today, or rather what happened in the mid 90s with the Indian stock markets, when you regulated it properly and it prospered. And we are seeing where the stock markets are going today.
Right.
It's actually going to help the industry prosper. It's going to create a new asset class of travel inventory getting traded. And when inventory gets traded, you get better price discovery, better availability as well.
I want to touch upon another more obvious use of cryptocurrency or blockchain in the travel space, which is accepting crypto payments.
Yeah.
And that's become a thing as well, because in the last 7, 8, 10 years, you've had a new generation who's only investing in crypto. A lot of them have made a lot of money. The OGs have made a lot of money. Yeah. And they want to transact in crypto. And they're traveling the world, as you rightly said. They're traveling for events and conferences. There are so many crypto events that are happening. So that's an obvious use case, but that's obviously not feasible everywhere, right? Because India has banned, or India does not have a very favorable opinion of using cryptocurrencies as a payment option, as a medium of exchange.
I think travel will probably be the harbinger of making crypto payments accepted globally. The reason is that, as I said, it is a by default global industry. So when I am trying to think of a holiday, I think of an Andamans, a Thailand, and a Sri Lanka and a Seychelles in the same thought, right? I'm comparing all these options. 3 of them are international, 1 of them is domestic. And if you're going to make me limit my payment option, then I probably side with one or the other, right? So that's why I think payments is a definitely important use case. And look at the efficiency that crypto brings in, right? Just for the comparison's sake, when you do a credit card transaction, you typically pay 2 to 3% to the bank for the credit card interchange. This is even when you're doing a domestic one. When you're doing an international one, it's bare minimum 4%. On the blockchain, this can come down to 0.01, 0.001, depending on, so blockchain doesn't really work on those percentages. It works in a different way, but it is way, way lower than 0.1%. The transaction charges are much lower. So allowing crypto payments to happen is actually going to benefit the industry, conserve a lot of cash, because you're going to save so much on those transaction costs. That's one. The second important part is this inter-channel settlement. So as I said, there are so many intermediaries, each playing a very important role. The DMC plays an important role. The travel agent plays an important role. The bed bank also plays an important role, because just a small bit on that, bed banks are not evil. They are not hoarding inventory. They are playing an important role of providing cash flow to the hotel, because when they book those hotel rooms in bulk, they do pay the hotel a part of it. So the hotel gets that working capital, and they get to manage their own cash flows, because they know that those many rooms are blocked with the bed bank, and the bed bank is going to sell them to someone, right? So each player in this ecosystem is playing a role, and each of these players has to settle with each other. So I'll give you sort of the longest chain possible, right? A small SME contacts their local travel agent. The travel agent tries to book it on the bed bank. The bed bank at that point of time does not have directly contracted inventory with the hotel. So it is picking up inventory from the DMC, and the DMC has picked it up from the hotel. Now it is 5 people in between that we have just thought about. when a booking is being made, right? And I'm just taking the example of hotels. There are use cases on airlines. There are event tickets also get sold like this, right? All these 5 chains, each time that the payment is going to happen, imagine if you're going to levy 4% international credit card charges, it's going to be so much waste of money.
Or like a wire transfer.
Or a wire transfer. At every stage, you're going to lose so much transaction cost. Instead, if we were doing all this on a blockchain, we would save so much. That's one very important use case. The second is, as I said, the blockchain is a trusted database sort of a thing for everyone. So there is complete transparency. And the third thing, which is inherent to the blockchain, is that every blockchain transaction has value transfer and fund transfer in a single leg. So what happens is when, and I'll give you the example of when you book a hotel room using cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Right? If you were to book a hotel room using cryptocurrency, the booking would flow from the seller's account to my account at the same time that the money would get debited from my account and get credited to the seller account. So unlike the real world, these are not 2 transactions. This is one atomic transaction. Now that opens up a channel that you can eliminate the entire reconciliation process of the travel industry. You probably will not do away with reconciliation, but it will
that's
come
a
down
finance problem. That's a financial industry's problem.
Yes.
That's not just...
No, not just finance industry. The hotel has to have a back office doing reconciliation of payments.
Yes.
The travel agent also has to be having a back office. Right. So while the problem is financial, but it is the industry which is getting benefited because they will completely not require any reconciliation to be done. Every transaction on the blockchain is atomic. So if the hotel room got booked, the money definitely came to the hotel. You cannot have only one succeeding and the other failing.
So the incumbent payment solutions that we have, and this is a problem that's a lot wider than just the travel industry.
Not just travel.
Is that we're relying on old financial plumbing, probably from 50, 70 years ago.
Yes.
And that's where you have all these, intermediaries who are paying a certain fee to transfer funds from one account to the other, right?
Yeah. But I would say a lot more needs to happen for this to become a reality. Firstly, I would say not just India, but across the globe, governments need to improve their understanding of what the blockchain is and come up with prudent regulation. I will not deny that there are problems with cryptocurrencies. Yes, we have seen misuse of cryptocurrencies. We have seen people using or misusing it for purposes like money laundering. But I would say, is that a problem only limited to cryptocurrencies? No. Money laundering happens in fiat currencies as well. You've seen money laundering happening in the US dollar or in the Indian rupee, right? Or a Nepalese rupee or whatever, right? So money laundering is a genuine problem. What governments need to do is understand the technology, come up with regulation to solve the problems like money laundering so that now we can make it a legitimate method of payments across the globe, because it will benefit mankind as a whole. We are going to reduce transaction costs. That productivity is going to show somewhere else. Probably we'll be able to invest all that money in improving the quality of service in travel industry, or invest into clean tech, making travel more sustainable. We could invest it into manufacturing probably, right? There are so many things that could happen.
There are, various hotels as well now that are accepting cryptocurrency. I think there are a couple of hotels in Switzerland and one in Dubai as well. And slowly but surely, the dominoes are following, and all these guys are coming on board, and they're starting to accept crypto as well. Various forms of crypto, right? There are 80 different, thousands of different cryptocurrencies. I think they take the top 80 or 100. But I have another question. My question is, you talk about blockchain technology, but there's not one blockchain. There are multiple blockchains. So I could be having my data on a blockchain, and another company or a bed bank could be having the data on another blockchain. Now, what's important is the interoperability between these two blockchains. And is that a reality today, or is that something we're still trying to solve?
It is a reality today, but it is technically complex. It's not very straightforward as on date. Definitely not for the travel use cases. So there are solutions available in various stages of evolution. One of them is Chainlink, with whom we are working very closely. We are trying to solve the exact problem. So what Book Protocol does, the company that I represent, right? What we do is we provide the plumbing. We are not the operator. So you're not going to find a website for Book Protocol. We provide the plumbing, and then there are other players who are using our technology to build a hotel booking portal or an event ticketing portal or hopefully an airline booking portal as well. Airlines as a technology is ready with us, but we don't yet have a partner on it, right? Now, all these players, as you rightly said, somebody might choose Polygon as the chain. Somebody else might choose Ethereum. Somebody may choose Arbitrum. Somebody may choose Coinbase.
And these are all different blockchains.
These are all different blockchains operated by different players, right? They may be running on their respective things. Now, when I book a hotel room on Polygon and I put it up for resale, I want somebody else who's sitting on Arbitrum also to have access to that hotel room, and I should be able to buy it. And my funds which are sitting on Arbitrum should be able to flow from here to the person on Polygon. So Chainlink provides that basic plumbing to do those things. Of course, there's a lot more building to be done. So we are working with Chainlink very closely to identify how do we use Chainlink's infrastructure to enable the travel use cases. So that's work in progress. It's not a completely solved problem yet. Like every other problem in the crypto space, in the blockchain space, Web3 space, it's evolving, but I wouldn't say the solution is out of our reach. We know what needs to be done. We'll get there very soon.
So we're basically seeing a new layer of tech infrastructure, financial infrastructure being built in front of our eyes, right? Yes. Kind of under the radar.
So I would put it this way. The new financial infrastructure is already in place thanks to cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
Now we are going to see a new layer of the travel infrastructure also getting built. So you're going to have hospitality, airlines, events, everything is going to start getting built out on the blockchain.
Whenever I talk to people, I tell them Web3 is essentially finance meets tech meets culture, right?
Absolutely.
So there are financial use cases, there are technological use cases, and then there are cultural use cases as well. And one of the big cultural use cases is, let's say, with loyalty points and trading of NFTs. Now, I know NFTs got a bit of a bad rap in 2021. A lot of NFTs were associated with scammy projects. 99% of them have gone down. And from there on, there was this push on real world use cases of NFTs, right? So they probably called something else now, but essentially they're non-fungible tokens.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about loyalty points and how blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies can enable a more efficient loyalty program for all these players.
So before I go into that, because that's a very important use case, let me just touch upon that point of NFTs and the fact that they went up and then came down, right? So if you know what the Gartner hype cycle looks like, right? So the Gartner hype cycle is a sinusoidal curve and then followed by a plateau. So we saw the peak for NFTs in 21, probably early 22, and then they have crashed. And right now we are in what Gartner calls the trough of disillusionment. So we are all disillusioned with the NFTs, but we're going to rise back, and that's where we're going to hit the plateau of efficiency, plateau of productivity. And that's exactly where our use cases and the use case of loyalty points comes in. That what we are doing is we are using the underlying technology of NFTs to enable better supply chain, to enable reselling, and to enable loyalty points as well. So now let's touch upon how this would work in real life. If you booked a hotel room at, let's say, the Marriott in Singapore, today, the loyalty points get accrued to you only when you go to the front desk, then you check in, then they take your entire passport and all those details. And then obviously they identify you as member number so-and-so. It's a very complicated...
There's also opposing motivations, right? So a hotel or an airline or any of these guys who have these loyalty programs, they actually make money when you don't use your points.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. And loyalty points are not fungible enough, right?
Which means they're not tradable.
Tradable,
right?
They're not tradable, and breakage of the loyalty points, exactly what you said. The breakage of the points benefits the hotel or the airline and not to the consumer. So what we are doing in this space is when you book a hotel room, the booking itself comes to you in form of the NFT. And then when you check out, that NFT gets converted into a non-utility NFT. Non-utility. So until while you're staying there, the utility of that NFT was, this is your booking. This is why you are staying in the hotel. What gives you the right to stay in the hotel? But the moment you've checked out, the date has passed. Now the NFT is not valuable for staying in the hotel. But it's still an NFT that you own in your wallet. The fact that you own that NFT in your wallet gives you a sort of an identity that the hotel can use to identify you. So you don't need a separate loyalty points program. That NFT that you are holding from that booking itself is proof enough that you are a loyal customer of the hotel.
Right.
The more NFTs you have, the more loyal you are and all that. And then this NFT can then be taken to other places. For example, the hotel can probably have a tie-up with restaurants in that same city or in another city. And they could say, if you're holding an NFT of the Marriott, you would get a 20% discount in that particular restaurant. So the restaurant also gets benefited because it is going to get more footfall thanks to this partnership. The hotel gets benefited because the customer now perceives the relationship with the hotel beyond just staying in the hotel. Now, and that's, I'm probably repeating the essentials of what a loyalty program looks like. But what I'm saying is by making it an NFT, since that identity can be carried and it becomes very easy to carry that identity with you because that identity is on the blockchain, it will be much more easier for businesses to create more lucrative loyalty programs, which would improve the loyalty, the actual loyalty factor with the brand. And obviously the customer gets benefited because now you get more benefits out of that loyalty program than just staying in that hotel and getting probably a 5% or 10% on your next booking.
So, since I touched upon culture as well, and we are on the subject of NFTs, now another very another cultural phenomenon in the Web3 space is called POAPs, right? Or proof of attendance protocol, right? Which are nothing but essentially NFTs, perhaps.
NFTs, yes.
And they are sent to your digital wallet.
Yes.
Now, if you see generally how people travel, whenever people travel, they bring back some sort of souvenir, right? It could be a fridge magnet. They went to the UK, they went to, I think, France, one with the Eiffel Tower. Or they bring back some shot glasses, which have, let's say, that iconic structure, the Louvre Museum or Leaning Tower of Pisa, all those sort of things, right? Yes. I love New York, whatever. So those are kind of like memories from that certain destination. Now, what if you could have that on a blockchain? So in the Web 2 world, in today's world, people will bring back shot glasses and fridge magnets. In the Web 3 world, you'll just have these, a digital version of these called POAPs in your digital wallet. So that becomes more of a flex, a social flex, as opposed to just shot glasses. So if I've been to 5 or 6 different countries and I've attended, a certain event, or I've attended like a concert, or checked into this new hotel or this new attraction, and I have a POAP, which I just scan with a QR code, then my digital wallet is filled with all these cool digital images, which becomes a social flex in the new world.
Absolutely. And now related to fandom, right? You're a fan of Taylor Swift, for example. You go to a Taylor Swift concert and you get a POAP for attending that concert.
Or let's say Diljit, let's stay local.
Diljit. Yeah, so you go to the Diljit Dosanjh's concert, you get a POAP for attending that event, and now that POAP is an NFT. And now there's another brand. Let's say there's Delhi Darbar, right? The restaurant, which has branches all over India. Delhi Darbar wants to say, anybody who attended Diljit's concert, I'm going to give you 20% discount on this particular date or on Diljit's birthday. It's so easy for them to roll out that, and the fandom, the fan community gets benefited. Obviously, the business gets benefited because it gets the footfall. And here, even the person who's organizing that can probably encash on that relationship. So it's basically saying that until now in the Web 2 world or in the real world, loyalty programs could be limited to brands who had the wherewithal to run a magnificent loyalty program with the backend systems and databases and servers and all that. You can completely do away with that complexity. With POAPs, anybody can actually start running such kind of loyalty programs, right?
And you also have, let's say, a tourism board wants to gamify this, right?
Absolutely.
So take New York City, for example. a tourism board wants to promote 5 or 6 different new attractions in the city. So what they can essentially do is they can have a POAP at each, like a gamification of it, scavenger hunt of sorts. Yes. So every destination or every attraction you go to, you collect a POAP. Yeah. So they're essentially directing you where to go, what they want to market to you. So there's a new restaurant in Soho, go there. There's the meat packing district, there's something else there. There's Italy or something, there's something in Madison Square Garden. So they can essentially help you navigate. And when you collect all these 5 POAPs, wherever they want you to go to, then they give you a certain reward, right? It could be
so think
a
about
fancy
it.
Michelin star meal. It could be
entry, a small discount on entry to the Empire State Building, right? So because if you're going to be going to New York, if you're going to visit Manhattan, Empire State Building is something that's aspirational. But then, as you said, there are so many other nooks and corners that the tourism board wants you to discover, which you usually don't. So what they can do, exactly what you said, they can say, okay, go and collect all these POAPs, and in return, I'll give you a 5% discount to go to the Empire State Building. So just to use that, I'll go and discover these other things. And yeah, I mean, it could help in so many ways.
Yeah, then there's also token gated access to events and concerts that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
In the old days, when we loved all these pop stars like Madonna, Michael Jackson, Guns N' Roses, right? We had their album covers. We used to collect their album covers. So you had those audio cassettes or CD covers, and you had them printed on T-shirts. We all, loved, let's say, different kinds of music. So we all had, we used to save those lyrics and those album covers. Today, with streaming music, you don't have that, right? So that album cover can also become an NFT, which is stored, every time you go to a concert, which is then stored in your digital wallet. And that can have multiple use cases, even for, let's say, an artist to directly engage with you, right?
Yes.
So someone who buys a premium NFT has access to, let's say, Diljit backstage, a meet and greet, for example, something along those lines, right? Yeah. So that's another possibility.
That's definitely so. As I said, the subculture in Web3 is that is of ownership. So the fact that you can get sort of a POAP or a attendance record on you when you attend something, that gives you that feeling of being a part of the community. Like you sort of relate with it. So for those who probably want to enter into the Web3 world, right? If you observe the Twitter profile pages of a lot of successful Web3 leaders, you will find them having monkeys on their profile, and you'll wonder why. Because they're trying to show their association with that particular monkey NFT. That's what they have bought, right?
Bored Ape.
Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? So that's BAYC in short. That's what it is called. So that it's same as at one point of time, or even today, people try to sport the tattoo on their arm, right? It's similar to that. So when you're trying to sport a particular NFT as your Twitter image or as your Instagram image or something, you are trying to show the association with that particular
community. You're part of this cool club. You're part of this members only club, and that's something that you want to flaunt, right?
Yes.
There's a 5-star hotel in Paris that's doing this. It's the Le Bristol Hotel. So what they've done is they've minted these 11 NFTs, exclusive NFTs, and people who buy those NFTs get different levels of access. So there's a common NFT and then there's an exclusive NFT. And there's just 11 because I don't know what the association is, but maybe they've got 11 suites or something like that in the hotel. But someone who purchases that NFT gets access to their pool, gets perhaps a special cocktail menu, gets a masterclass, a cooking masterclass at their Michelin star restaurant. So essentially, you're part of this exclusive club where you get access to some of these unforgettable experiences. And you're also, I guess, it's a social flex as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a social flex. And imagine that I own an NFT that gives me access to a particular facility. It could be access to a gym of a particular hotel. Now, it is possible that on that particular visit to, say, Dubai, I'm not able to get a room in that particular hotel, but I can still walk into that same hotel and go and use the gym because I still have that NFT, right? That creates a very different level of loyalty compared to getting just a discount on booking.
Another important aspect, as far as my research goes, is identity management and verification, right? That's also, now this is going beyond just consumer tech, but also going into the underlying technology now, which is, can I transport my identity, let's say from Make My Trip to a booking.com to an Uber, right? Today I have to have separate accounts with these guys. But what if there was one common platform and I can just log in using, let's say, my Ethereum keys or something, and I can log in and I can just transport my identity across all these platforms instead of creating a separate account and answering those questions and so on and so forth.
Exactly. So that's exactly what happens through our tech, for example, right? Every portal that's built using our tech, if you log in using the same wallet, whether you booked it on, so let's say there are three portals, right? There's a portal A on Polygon, there's a portal B on Arbitrum. If you booked the hotel room on the Polygon portal and you connected the same wallet to the Arbitrum portal, you would still see that particular booking here. So you are able to take your identity anywhere. That's one part of it. The other very important part of the um, identity access management sort of area is that because this is a trustless system, now you can prove your identity using what is called a zero knowledge proof, right? So imagine the experience that people would get when they walk into a Citizen M hotel where there's no front desk. You just walk in, there's a kiosk, you scan a QR code and you just walk in and you know the hotel room that you're going to go, you pick up your key and there's absolutely no need to authenticate yourself. Now that can be enabled with an NFT based or a token based booking system where you don't need to sort of pass on your passport and your identity documents and all that every time you travel anywhere. In fact, even when you're attending an event, right? Nowadays, even today, when you're attending an event, you will have to carry an identity card, an ID with you. You'll have to show them some sort of an ID, either a national ID or a passport or something, right? With an NFT based ownership model, if I am holding that NFT in my wallet, which probably will be digitally stored in my mobile phone, I do not need to prove who I am. The fact that I am able to open and show you the ticket itself is proof enough that I am the genuine owner of the NFT. Because in this blockchain world, you don't have counterfeiting. You cannot have counterfeiting. If I own the NFT, there cannot be another counterfeit NFT that somebody else has stolen from me.
How do I show you the NFT?
You open the app and you show us you can open the app and show the NFT. So the fact that you are able to open and show me the NFT itself is proof that you own the NFT.
Which app would you open?
There are these crypto wallets that you have, MetaMask being the most popular of them. But we are very fast moving towards.
I was going to say that, right? Because we talked about MetaMask wallet, which is a Web3 wallet. And the average person has to jump through hoops to get that, right? You have to download that MetaMask wallet on your computer or on your phone. There's a seed phrase which you need to remember. And all this is very cumbersome, which is why, we haven't had, although there are a lot of people using cryptos and investing in cryptos, but which is why this probably hasn't hit the masses as yet.
Yeah, I mean, people may be probably keeping their MetaMask on their home computer and not carrying it on their mobile phone, right, and only using it for their investment, just like they log into their Zerodha account or something, right? So yeah, I think that problem is getting solved again. As I said, there is a new standard called 4337, which is ER34337, which is an account abstraction standard. It's already pretty much in vogue.
What does that do for the average?
So what it does
person?
is it basically, instead of you requiring to create a wallet and hold the private key and all that securely, all it does is it allows you to create a virtual wallet using one of your existing identities. So you could be logging in through your Gmail ID or your Twitter account or your LinkedIn account, and that login itself will convert into a wallet. So you don't need to really remember any pass keys and all that. It becomes very, very simple. And that wallet is now able to transact on your behalf through the blockchain. So all the complexity of the blockchain is taken care by the underlying fourth.
That's what I keep saying. The beauty or the success of blockchain technology will happen, or the mass adoption rather of blockchain technology will happen when you don't even know you're using blockchain, right?
Absolutely, exactly.
So, you and I, the average person does not need to know about the underlying tech. What you care about is just whatever tasks that you're doing, is it done or not? So when I send you money, or if I send you a WhatsApp message or a photo or a video on WhatsApp, I don't care about the underlying internet technology, right? Or WhatsApp's underlying tech. What I care about is, was I able to send 50 rupees on UPI to Nikhil, or was I able to, send him a photo or send him a video without worrying about the underlying tech? So you could, in the near future, you could have millions of people already using blockchain technology, but without actually knowing that they're using the underlying tech.
So that's where I would give a more relatable example of event attendance, right? Even today, you can book an event ticket online. But the problem is that there is ticket scalping that happens. People create a copy of the ticket. There is copying. There is a lot more reselling that happens, which is not legitimate, right?
Yes.
Now, all those problems get completely solved if you move event ticketing to the blockchain. And so ticketing is the second industry that we've already built a protocol for. Hotels was the first, ticketing is the second. You'll see some live implementations in the next couple of months. So now if you're buying the ticket using the blockchain protocol, book protocol, you get the ticket again in form of an NFT in your wallet. Now that wallet could be connected to your Gmail account. So you don't need to worry about downloading MetaMask and all that. You might have logged into the event ticketing website using your Gmail. But the beauty here is now ticket scalping cannot happen. Nobody can duplicate that ticket because it is an NFT. That NFT has been registered on the blockchain. Nobody can create a copy of it. If they create a copy of it, it will automatically fail. Like there's a fail-safe mechanism built in. So when you turn up at the event venue, there need not be a physical bouncer standing there asking you, show me your ID. Let me compare the name on my record with your ID and let me make sure that you are the right person, right? None of that needs to happen. You just need to flick out your phone, scan the QR code, and you can walk through. It can be as good as walking into a metro station by just swiping your ticket and turning the turnstile. It can be that simple. It will be safe, secure, and as I said, what we spoke about earlier, it will anyways enable reselling of those tickets also.
What about blockchain technology being used also in the logistics and supply chain industry, right? Especially as far as travel is concerned, baggage handling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Lots of issues of stolen bags or lost luggage. And that's primarily because they're all on different databases. Right? You've got the airport authority, you've got the insurance company, you've got the airline, and they all are in their own silos, right? And they need to be connected, or they need to be on a common ledger, which makes it a lot easier to track that baggage in real time.
Right. Exactly. So I think your question has the answer embedded in it, right? That's exactly where the blockchain comes in. It can act as a common database amongst all. And the benefit of doing all this, again, I want to stress upon the fact that each transaction on the blockchain is very, very cheap. Like we keep hearing about the fact that blockchains are burning a big carbon hole, right? But that's not the reality. When you look at it, today, the same feature, if we had to build it on existing systems, it would take a lot more energy to build. Instead, putting it on the blockchain will make it much, much cheaper. Secondly, not just the baggage handling, but even for that matter, container shipping, right? All these industries can use the blockchain because anything that requires to be tracked throughout the cycle, where there are different parties involved, can use the blockchain, right? And very specifically, again, what book protocol is building, our protocol is meant for any kind of an inventory which is perishable in nature. So hotel room, like there's a start date, there's an end date. Similarly, even the shipping container, when you're shipping a product, you are going to ship it on a particular date on a particular ship. If that date passes, this is of no use.
Sure.
So that kind of a thing. And baggage handling, of course, comes in because it is only when you are traveling that you need that asset to be tracked. Once the travel is over, you don't need that tracking to
But
happen.
these solutions aren't currently there. I mean, I would assume that baggage handling and tracking would be a fairly sophisticated operation. Now that since it goes through so many different touch points.
There are these solutions currently available outside the blockchain. And today, what people have done is they have used a mix and match of APIs and databases and so on and so forth to sort of cobble together a system that just about works, but it fails at a lot of places, right? Because one big problem, for example, and I have had experience of working for the banking industry and then travel and everywhere, right? A lot of synchronization that needs to happen in these databases is very expensive in the sense that it takes a lot of computing power. So typically, what they will do is they will schedule this. So it will happen overnight or it will happen once in 8 hours, right? Now, what happens is the problems that you face, that your baggage got lost, the problem comes up because there is a time lag between the event and when it gets captured in a particular database. So if we are able to reduce that time lag, and that can happen through the blockchain, because as I said, I had just explained earlier, right, that the value transfer and the monetary transfer happens together.
Yes.
So in baggage handling cases also, the actual movement of the baggage and the tracking across all databases will happen simultaneously. There won't be a time lag between the event and its capturing. And that's how the blockchain will actually solve some of these problems for the industry. So instead of building a complex web of APIs that call each other, databases that are synchronizing every 8 hours or 4 hours, you won't need any of that. Everybody simply talks to a common layer, which is the blockchain. That's how it will happen.
Are there any other use cases besides the ones that we've already gone through? I think one of the last ones that comes to my mind is proof of stay, which is also an NFT. One of the issues is reputation management for a lot of hotels and airlines as well, where there are a lot of fake reviews, right, on various websites. In fact, I think there's a TripAdvisor statistic which says that 4% of all reviews are fake. And this is TripAdvisor's stat from, I think, 2022. So maybe they've been working to mitigate that, but it still remains a bit of an issue.
Again, why is it an issue? Because it's very difficult to establish identity in the current world, right? You could just go and create a Gmail account, right? Now, that Gmail account could be completely different from the Gmail account that was used to actually book the hotel, and that's why you're not able to correlate the two. And that's where NFTs come in. So if you say that you can only post a review if you're holding a proof of stay NFT in your wallet.
So if I went to a certain hotel, the hotel has to issue a proof of stay NFT, which is
They
probably
don't need
linked.
to issue it. As I said, if you book the hotel using a blockchain-based platform like ours,
Yeah.
the booking itself comes to you in form of an NFT.
Okay.
And that NFT itself, after your checkout date, gets converted into a proof of stay. So you're not talking about different NFTs here. The same NFT gives you the loyalty benefit. The same NFT gives you access to posting a review. The same NFT gives you access to walk into the hotel and say, oh, I'm staying here. All of them are just the same identity. So you're carrying, it's exactly that. You're carrying your identity with you all the time. And that enables all these functionalities. And it takes care of these problems that fake reviews cannot happen.
Right. That's really interesting. I mean, I had no idea until I did my research that there are so many different use cases, and last few months I've been doing a lot of research because I also speak at conferences and events and talk about this. So prior to that, obviously, I had no idea how travel industry could be impacted by blockchain. And this seems like the list is never ending. There's so many different use cases, and I'm sure there'll be more and more as we go through.
Yeah, I mean, every layer you sort of uncover, you'll find, okay, this is another advantage and that is another advantage. And
Kind of like peeling back the onion.
Yeah, almost like that. And I feel that travel is one industry that can benefit the most. Primarily, as I said, I'll go back to that point that this is an industry that cannot and does not have a global regulator. And it cannot have a global regulator. Travel is essentially global by its nature, right? When you travel, you actually transcend boundaries. So, and blockchain is exactly that. Blockchain is giving you that advantage that there's no one country. Blockchain has no countries in it. Like there's one blockchain across the globe, right? So there is a very natural fit to these two industries. And as I said, culturally also, Web3 guys travel a lot. Events are a norm in Web3. So there is a cultural fit as well. I think there is a lot of things that are common between travel and Web3.
A lot of synergies.
Lot of synergies.
So where do you see the industry going 3 to 5 years from now?
So I think one of the challenges has been that the industry is just about coming out of the blows of the pandemic, at least from a financial perspective. I think it is now that most players in this industry are now net zero. They have shed all the losses and all the headache that they had during the pandemic. I think this is the time that probably fresh investments will come in. Industry will start looking at newer applications, and plus, I would say one advantage of the pandemic has been that it has told us how the world could function in many ways. For example, work from home or work from anywhere. concepts like this are becoming a reality. Remote jobs are becoming a reality. So travel is poised to get the advantage of some of these trends. And as travel grows, we are going to face more and more of these problems that we spoke about, and we have to find solutions. And I would say the solutions are staring right in the eye. Blockchain is the solution to so many of these problems. The industry should just needs to adopt them. Having said that, as I said, there's a lot more investment that needs to go in, and that will take some time. So I don't want to be over optimistic as well. I believe that the industry will invest in it, but there'll be a journey that the industry has to go through, transforming itself from where they are today to adopting the whole blockchain world. It's going to be a journey. I would say 5 years for the early movers, and could be longer for those who follow on after that.
So in 5 years' time, I could maybe just book a last-minute trip from here to Europe or any other part of the world. Uh, you know, perhaps buying a ticket or a hotel room directly from a peer, someone like yourself, and not rely on any of these third-party OTAs, and just use my hotel room as an NFT, and that probably has some different perks as well, some local experiences, and that's the direction we're basically going
That's the
into.
direction, yeah. And just one point, you're still going to use a third party. The third party is going to use the blockchain.
Okay.
That's what is going to change. So you would probably still interact with a Agoda or someone, but you would know that now that Agoda is using the blockchain, I am genuinely getting this hotel room, and
They're
I'm
enabling
not
this
afraid.
service for me.
Yeah, everybody. So the entire industry is going to plug into that particular infrastructure. That's what is going to happen.
Okay, and I think that's a great point to end our conversation on. I think it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been a masterclass, really, a total masterclass here, talking about different use cases of blockchain, crypto, Web3, and how they're going to impact the travel industry. And hopefully, even though we feel travel is fairly friction free at the moment, but it's not, as we just discovered. And hopefully, things just get better from here in the years to come.
Sure. I do hope like everybody who's watching this podcast didn't find it too complex, and I was able to demystify some of the challenges. Hopefully, I would say whatever challenges still exist, the ones that you spoke about, that there are multiple blockchains and then it's too hard to say install a MetaMask and all. I think in the next probably 4 to 6 months itself, I believe these solutions are about to get solved. So I hope people will then throng to the Web3 world. And as you said, probably there will come a time very soon where people will not know that they are using the blockchain in the background. It should become as seamless as booking a cab today.
Right. And I hope this episode is useful to a lot of people within the travel industry because they don't understand Web3. And of course, the average listener as well, who's just interested in seeing where the world is heading in the near future. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nikhil. Where can someone who wants to follow you, where can they find you?
Twitter is the best place. So if they want to follow Book Protocol, that's Book BUK Protocol. If they want to follow me, I'm Kulkarni Nikhil on Twitter. That's the best place. I'm there on LinkedIn as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Nikhil.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure having you.
Same here.
And
Same here.
I'll see you guys on the next one.